Hey there, it's Chef Mark. This is the first in a series of knife skills classes that I'm presenting for you, and these are some lessons that I'm taking from the vault. I recorded these about 10 years ago, and for the whole story on how that came about, I want you to check out this video right here. It's kind of the background story, but today is lesson number 1. It's selecting and sharpening knives. So let's get started. Hi, I'm Chef Mark Tafoya. Welcome to the Culinary Media Network Academy. This is part of the Cooking with Chef Mark series, and today we're going to be talking about knives. We're going to talk about different kinds of knives, how to keep your knife sharp, and most importantly, knife safety and some techniques, and we're going to break down some vegetables. So first things first, you see in front of me I've got a bunch of different kinds of knives, and we're going to talk a little bit about the different styles, and maybe you can find one that's right for you. You see I've got them all lined up here. Firstly, I want to show you this. This is an edge guard. It's a little plastic thing that helps you, you can put your knife in there and it keeps you from cutting yourself, and it protects the blade, most importantly, when you've got it in a knife roll or in your bag or even just in your cabinet. So that's a really good thing to have. I'm going to set that aside over here and talk about the other knives. So we've got basically two different kinds of chef's knives. You've got your big standard long chef's knife, and this is a very utilitarian one. You see these in a lot of kitchens in restaurants because they're big. They've got a really solid rubber blade, and they're good. They're nice and long. This one, I think, what is that, an 8-inch or maybe 9-10 inch? And it's a standard chef's knife. It has a little bit of a bevel there, you see. So that bevel enables you to cut things pretty easily. This is also a standard chef's knife. Very similar, although this is just one solid piece of steel. And so that's kind of a nice one. And then you've got your sort of Santoku and Santoku style knives. This is a Japanese knife, and it's called Santoku because it means, I believe it means 3 blessings or 3 uses in Japanese. So essentially you can slice, dice, and chop, I guess, with it. But the interesting feature here is that you've got these little bevels on the side of the knife there, and they're sort of cut in a little bit. That helps. There's a lot of vegetables that are very high in moisture content, and as you're slicing them, with this kind of knife, they kind of stick to the blade. The idea of these bevels is that it creates an air pocket and helps the food to fall away as you're slicing it. The other notable difference is that they've got this sort of rounded edge on the top, and I don't know if that serves a function, but it definitely makes it distinct from other knives. And then we've got a sort of a similar one, but it's sort of, this one kind of combines the two. It sort of combines the idea of the Santoku and the standard chef's knife. It's got a little bit of a bevel, and it's got this sort of, curved side here. So very nice. And this, of course, is a paring knife, and this one is really great. It comes with its own little sheath to protect itself, and this one is really, really sharp, and it's a good one. It's small, and it's really good for getting those intricate little cuts, and this one happens to be very sharp. Now, keeping your knife sharp is really important for a lot of reasons. It may seem counterintuitive. People will often work with a dull knife thinking, ooh, I don't want it to be too sharp, I might cut myself. Well, that's probably a pretty sure way to cut yourself. The idea is that if it's a really sharp knife, it's going to glide through your food a lot easier, and you won't have those sort of hang-ups that will kind of cause you to slip and have an accident and cut yourself. So you really do need to have really sharp knives. Okay, so first things first, we need to start with a sharp knife. So you might think that this is a sharpener, and you're sort of half right. This is actually a steel. It's a honing steel. It's used to hone the blade after you've put some sharpening to it. And I know a lot of people have these, and you see all the pro chefs doing this stuff, and it really does look cool and make you look like a pro, but that's the next step. Really, the first step is to sharpen your knife, and there's a bunch of different ways of doing it. Firstly, I would recommend taking your knife to a professional sharpener, and there's an audio file that's associated with this course where I went and visited a lady at Samurai Knife Sharpening in the Chelsea Market here in New York City, and we had a nice discussion about sharpening knives. And she is a pro. She's down there 2 days a week sharpening people's knives, and she really just does it in a wonderful way. She uses a whetstone and a grinder, and she makes your knives sing. I mean, it's really, really beautiful. But if you don't have a professional sharpener or access to one, you can use a whetstone, and that's a simple square stone that has 2 different sides. One is coarse, one is a little finer, and as the name implies, you would usually use oil or water and keep it wet as you drag your blade across it. But those are kind of difficult ways, and you really need to be practiced to keep the right angle. Ideally, you should have about a 17.5% or a 20% angle on that, and it's really hard to keep that. So a real great trick to use is one of these little guys, and I got this little thing for about, I don't know, $5 at a kitchen supply store, and this is sort of equivalent to those electric sharpeners that you see sold in stores. I don't happen to have one. I don't think that they're bad or good. I don't really have an opinion on them. If it's easy for you to use that, that's great too. But what's really great about this and other tools is that it has two sharpening blades, and it's at just the right angle. You see, they're fixed in there. So as long as you keep your knife in there straight, you're going to get that proper grade on both sides, and to keep a nice straight long taper on the knife. So I'm going to show you how I do it. The other great thing about this is that this is a little tiny tool, and it goes with me everywhere in my knife roll. So it's always on hand if I need to sharpen my knives. And I generally do try to sharpen my knives really often. You shouldn't do it before every service, every time you cook, because you'll whittle your knife away to nothing eventually. But really, if you start to see that it's a little dull, I'd use it. Now, this doesn't take away too much of the blade. So you can hold it this way, sort of opposite, and you're basically going to run it like this, okay? There's a guard on here to help protect your fingers, which is good. Now, if you want to practice this for the first time, you might want to rest it against the cutting board or your surface like that. However, I'll tell you that it's going to make it difficult to get all the way to the tip. You really want to be able to take it from the base to the tip in one solid movement with a little bit of strength behind it. You're not digging into the knife, but you're also not just sort of, touching it like that. You're taking away a little bit of the metal so that you get a really nice even blade. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to lift it up and go in one even motion straight down. Okay? Now you're going to do this a few times. Okay, there I really got it. You can feel it. Like I hold it straight in here, get it solid, and then move it down. Okay? We're going to do this a few times. Now you can sort of feel it after a moment. You'll hear it, and you'll also sort of feel it as you move. It won't resist as much. It'll be one even move, okay? Now, you can sort of come in here. I don't know if you can see this. There's some tiny little shavings on the cutting board because that's the metal that I've just taken away from this knife to give it a nice even blade. And I wish I had like a micro cam so you could see this, but it's really, you basically got this really nice, sharp, even blade, and there's a little bit of these sort of filings on here. Now it comes time for the honing steel. And these come in, they're all pretty basically like this. They've got a long, rounded blade with little grooves in it that helps you to sort of hone the edge. And they usually have a guard like this so you don't cut yourself, down here. And same principle, so you want that 17 or 20% angle, okay? And there's a lot of ways you can do this. Some people will sort of do it like this. They'll hold the steel straight and move the knife across. Some people will hold the knife and do the steel. I don't recommend that because you can't keep the same angle. But you could either do it this way or this way. I mean, really, it's up to you. I would practice doing it a bunch of different ways. So the idea is you need to have that slight angle, and you're going to do it on both sides. You can alternate, or you can do sort of 5 on one, 5 on the other. It's really up to you. From the very base to the very tip. Okay, and that's taking away any little microscopic shards of metal in there. It's making sure that the edge is true and nice, and I can actually just put my thumb on there and feel that I've got a nice sharp edge. Probably looks a little fast. Let me slow one down for you. You see, I've got that slight angle. Go all the way from the base to the tip. A few of those will be a good hone. And I've got a good blade, a good nice sharp on each of these blades. So you see, I've got my selection. I can choose from any of these knives to work with, and they're all going to be nice and sharp.
I hope you enjoyed that. That was lesson 1. We're going to have 7 more lessons, all in the Cooking with Chef Mark Knife Skills series. You can check that out over here at Remarkable Palate, my channel. And of course, there's many other cooking videos over there, so check them out. See you soon.